So I'm thrilled to introduce our next guest, our wonderful guest. She's going to be so fascinating to listen to. Guide Dogs Victoria client, Melanie, with her guide dog, Deso, who's actually named after our esteemed Governor, Linda Deso. So just a reminder as well, everybody, before we listen to Melanie, to pop yourselves on mute if you haven't already. And so while she shares her story, we'll be on mute. But if you have any questions for Melanie, please use that chat box function and we can get to as many as we can. So thanks so much for being here this morning, Melanie. It's over to you.
Thank you, Alex, for that lovely introduction. And Karen, those inspiring words. Yeah, it's really has been a pretty rough year for a lot of people, hasn't it? But I'm here today because I want you all to know that your support is highly valued by the people that you're giving it to. I'd also like to highlight that your guide dog clients are all on their own individual, unique vision loss journey, of which you may already be profoundly aware of. These journeys include the people dealing with the vision loss, but also those supporters that are close to them. I'm a perfect example of one of the people that you are supporting. And I'd like to share with you today how I've managed to maintain a life of independence and dignity by reaching out to well-informed supporters. I'm technically what's known as deaf-blind. I was born and raised in country Victoria on a farm. I was diagnosed with bilateral nerve deafness at the age of 5. And I moved to Melbourne at the age of 17 to pursue a career. I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa in my early 20s, and it didn't really affect me too much at that stage. It was just a diagnosis. By my mid-30s, however, I had to move away from hands-on veterinary nursing to a more vet admin role. I'd stopped driving, I wasn't going out in the evenings as much, and I had started to use a long white cane to assist my mobility. And then in my mid-40s, there was quite a significant and quite very rapid decline in my vision loss. And it was at that point that I established contact with Guide Dogs Victoria. And I tapped into their many, many resources, in particular their orientation and mobility and adaptive technology services, which gave me the skill set to continue with most of my daily activities, to maintain a really good level of independence, and most importantly, to keep working full time. The gradual impact of this vision loss continues to affect me today, and it's now looking most likely that I will go totally blind with this condition. It was at that point that it was recommended that I do consider guide dog mobility. And it was really interesting because everybody was already asking me constantly, why don't you have a guide dog? And I think it was particularly given my background. I grew up on a farm, I'd been around working dogs. I was a trained veterinary nurse working in animal welfare, so it just seemed like a natural fit. But for this overthinker, there was so much more that I had to process in my own mind before I could go down that track. And I knew it would take many, many conversations with many, many people, and Guide Dog Victoria were incredibly patient with me. And there was also quite a significant light bulb moment where I found myself standing on a beach in front of an apartment where I was staying on holidays before I'd made the decision to go to Guide Dog Mobility. I'd taken myself off for a walk on the beach and I'd made my way back. And I'm standing in front of the apartment block, I could see it, but I just could not find the path that would take me off the beach into the apartment grounds. I'd taken my cane with me, but cane, it's pretty useless in that situation. You really need a hard surface to tap the cane up against to orientate yourself, to get in. So I'm standing there and you can imagine it. I'm totally, like, I could see the apartment block, but I just could not get through into the apartment. And that was when I was struck for the first time with the differences between the two types of mobility. I knew that the the cane is traditionally known as an obstacle finder, whereas the dog is known as an obstacle avoider. But it hit me in that very moment that, hang on a minute, these dogs are actually, they can also be a finder. A guide dog could help me to find a door, to find a seat, to find a gate. And that was when it hit me in that moment. I need to go down that path. But I've missed a little bit here. I need to go back to what those challenges were for me. I had many things that I had to process in my own mind. And one of the things which was really hard for me to get my head around was that I knew that it was an incredible fear of loss. I knew that I would be establishing a remarkable bond with my first guide dog. This dog was going to be with me constantly throughout this journey. And end of life is painful. I already had a really good sense of independence with my cane. So what was the dog going to give me that the cane wouldn't already? And I found myself asking, could I be taking a dog away from someone who needs it more than me at this point in time? Then there was the impact on my family, my relationships. My Dr. Dolittle husband, Richard, he's that guy that all animals are inexplicably drawn to. How would it be if he was to inadvertently develop a bond with my guide dog where the dog would want to be with him more than work for me? And for the 25 years that Richard and I have been together, he's always been there. We go somewhere, he walks on my left-hand side, we hold hands, we've developed these little hand signals where it helps me to negotiate obstacles without us actually speaking. And people think it's really cute that we're still holding hands after all these years. But in actual fact, we've got this little Morse code thing going on. And how would it be for him if I was to have a dog that was going to be now constantly with me on my left-hand side, doing all the work that he'd been doing? Would he feel like he's been bumped out? And then, of course, with my parents. So there was the impact on them. They've been with me on this journey right from the beginning. And getting a guide dog would be a really obvious indicator that my vision had deteriorated to a certain point. How would that impact them? Would old feelings of guilt, which I know had plagued them, would they resurface? And that was something I really had thought long and hard about. And then for my siblings, I felt an enormous pressure to get this right. I could be potentially leading the way for my two younger siblings who live with the same condition. And then to top it all off, I felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility towards the organisation that I would be getting the dog from. I was acutely aware that every time I walked out the door, my dog and I would be representing that organisation. So as you can see, I didn't want to go into this life-changing decision in a half-thought-out way. And that's, like I said before, I knew it was going to take many, many conversations and that one light bulb moment where, there I was standing in front of this apartment block that I just couldn't get into. And the realisation that, these dogs, they can work as a finder. So once I'd made up my mind, okay, that's it, I set myself a goal. I said, I'm going to come back here to this holiday destination and with my dog, and we're going to find our way off that damn beach. And it happened. I did go back for another holiday, and the first thing I did after dumping my bags in the unit was my dog and I went down to the beach, and it just took a few minutes for me to teach her to locate and target that particular gate. We went off on quite a short walk because I was keen to test this out. And as we came back and as we got close, I just said to her, okay, find the gate. And off she went. And I'm parachuting behind her up the beach. And the feelings that were going through me was just intense gratitude and relief. And then just pure joy as I found myself standing in front of the gate. And I looked down and all I could see is a back end wriggling furiously. And the overwhelming sense of happiness that flooded me in that moment was just, I'm so happy. She's happy. It was the right thing to do. And that was, it's been now almost 2 years since I transitioned from using a cane to this wonderful, tangible partnership that I have with my thinking teammate. Would you like to meet her? We'll just get her. Okay, come on, Jess, wake up. Wake up. Okay, come on, up you go. That's it. Good girl. Okay, so here she is. And a little treat to get her up here so you can all see her. Okay. So her name is, as Alex pointed out, her name is Dassault, and she's a pretty special dog. Now, we all think, she's 3.5 years old, by the way, so she's still a bubba, but she's incredibly good at her job. So we all think our dogs are pretty special, but I can actually officially say that Dassault is indeed a very special dog with a really important connection to Guide Dogs Victoria. You see, Dassault was born on the 17th of March 2017, which was the 60th anniversary year for Guide Dogs Victoria. And at a special celebration ceremony at Government House, Des was chosen as the puppy to be named for and presented to our Victorian Governor, Linda Dassault, who is also a patron for Guide Dogs Victoria. So there you go. She is officially a very important dog, and unofficially she's pretty special to me too. So we officially became a couple in November 2018, and we commenced training together. And that 4 weeks of training was the most intensely challenging and yet incredibly rewarding period of growth that I had ever experienced in my life to that point. And the matching team had done an incredible job to pair me with this dog, right from her perfect walking speed to her facial expressions. Apparently, we've both got the same quirky right eyebrow, so my sister pointed out pretty early on. I don't know about that, but she's pretty convinced that we do. And neither of us can play poker. We've just got one of those faces that just shows everything. We didn't fall in love at first sight, believe it or not. It did actually take quite a bit of time for us both to develop the trust and respect in each other, which has helped to create the formidable bond that we do have today. And there's certainly been some significant moments along the way, that's for sure. The forbidden attachment to my husband, Richard, well, it happened. About 6 weeks after we'd been home from training, everything was going along really well. We'd been going off to work every day and it was all going really great. And then all of a sudden she's starting to drag her feet, not want to go out the door. She wanted to hang out at home with Dr. Doolittle. But that was okay because it just took a little bit of extra intervention from the incredible trainers at Guide Dogs Victoria, and we soon rebooted her and got her back on track. And now Des and Richard have just got a fabulous friendship, which actually works really well for the 3 of us. And to be totally honest, I can't say that Dassault has given me a newfound sense of independence. I already had that. But I can say that she has totally turned my life completely upside down in all the best possible ways, except that I haven't had a sleep in since November 2018. But seriously, she has helped to enhance my independence by teaching me the value of trust. I'd been on this journey on my own. I had people around me that loved and supported me, and I had some great support networks, but ultimately I'd been on my own. Those everyday everythings I was doing by myself, and it was wearing me down without me even realising it until I got her. And I've got this thinking teammate, and the pressure is just lifted. I can breathe now. I feel like I'm a much calmer, much more balanced person, thanks to her. And then there was a really significant moment when my mum was caught totally unaware. She was visiting not long after I got Des, and she walked past and was having a quick sneaky glance at her, and she just stopped in her tracks. She was just overwhelmed with this intense appreciation for all the positive things this dog had brought to my life. And I remember Mum, she stopped and she looked at me and she had tears in her eyes. And my mum's really guarded with that sort of thing. And she just looked at me and she said, "Oh, Melanie," she said, "I just love this dog so much for everything she's brought to you." And that was pretty impactful. And then as for Dad, well, he just wants to know when she can retire and go and live in the country with them. And my response was, yeah, good luck with that, Dad. Getting past Richard and I first. She's not going anywhere. She's staying with us, and even when she retires. And then for my brother and sister, Matthew and Sally, as they've gotten to know and love Des, the potential pathway to guide dog mobility is now perhaps, it's a lot less daunting and even perhaps open to them. I truly, truly cannot imagine my life without this beautiful dog by my side. I get to live in the moment every day thanks to her. And particularly in the last few months, things have been pretty rough, but she has really helped me to keep moving forward. And without your support, I wouldn't have been able to access the services that have got me to where I am today, which is having the confidence to deal with almost any situation, including sitting here talking to you all in this fabulous event. And we hope that you can walk away today with a profound sense of fulfillment towards the cause that you are committed to, and be completely reassured that your support is so highly valued by the people that you're giving it to. So from Desi and I, it's a huge big pawsome thank you.
Melanie, you are truly an inspiration. It's just, I'm in awe when I listen to your story, and I'm sure everybody else was as well. So if anybody has any questions, I have had a couple come through, but if you'd like to use the chat box, anybody, you can fire away some questions to Melanie. I'm a country girl too, actually, Melanie. I grew up in the country. Whereabouts were you from?
I'm from the Western District, up near the Grampians.
Lovely. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, where are you from, Alex?
So you mentioned, sorry, what was that?
Where are you from?
I'm actually from just outside of Geelong, a place called Nunbori.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you mentioned about you spent that 4 weeks with Desi, getting to know her, and you said that you didn't gel straight away. When was the moment that you actually knew that you were going to be a good pair together?
Yeah.
You got dog hair in your mouth there.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Alex, and I do get asked that, and I do have a lovely little story around that. Like I said, we certainly, I loved her, but that real cementing didn't happen until maybe, it wasn't long after the Dr. Dolittle attachment, when we sort of got back on track, and we'd gotten off the train one day, and normally when I got off the train, we would have to make a hard left, and she didn't take that left, and she just went up ahead a little bit, and then she went left, and I thought, it doesn't seem quite right. So I retracked. We're trained to go back and redo your route if it doesn't feel quite right. So I did that, and I got to where I thought we needed to turn left, and I just paused, and I was just thinking in my mind, she stopped again, I wonder why. And a member of the public actually stopped me and said, you can't go that way, they've blocked it all off, they're doing some sort of construction, and you have to go up and around a little bit further. And I just, it was just like, I must have looked totally ridiculous, because I've just hit the deck, and I'm sitting there and I'm hugging her and I'm crying because she could see it, I couldn't. And that was when, it just really hit me. It was like, yep, okay, yeah, we've got it now. That real big light bulb moment. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. They're so intelligent, aren't they? The beautiful guide dogs. I believe that they're much more intelligent than your average pet dog. They just have something really special about them. And then also you mentioned there was a really good connection with your husband and Desi at the start, and you said that there was some support with the trainers. So how do you find the ongoing support from them with Desi over the last years?
Incredible. And when that happened, I was actually really lucky, Alex. Apparently it's quite common for these dogs to push their boundaries a little bit, and sometimes they'll do it quite quickly, and sometimes they'll do it a year or two later, but luckily for me, she did it quite early. And they were incredible. Like, you know, on the day it happened, it all happened really quickly. And I rang them when I got to work and said, oh, God, this happened this morning. And Aaron, the trainer, said, well, we thought it might happen because we know what Richard's like, you know. I mean, to his credit, he was incredible in restraining and holding back from engaging with her, but it didn't help. It was just that magnetism. But, you know, it was, straight away, like I rang them and straight away we talked through it. And they had a trainer out there the next day to help me. And her name was Marita, and it was hysterical because they said, look, she'll just be, you know, observing you from far. You won't even know she's there, but if you get into trouble, she will come and help you. And yeah, so we got out the door and she's dragging her feet, and then she stopped. And then all of a sudden this woman just popped up out of the bushes and said, hi, I'm Marita. Let's go. And it was incredible, you know, and we got onto it really quickly, and I just can't fault them. It's just incredible, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I think we sometimes forget that they are, well, you know, she is still quite young as well. She's
incredibly young.
Got a bit of growing up to do, but they're just incredible. And I've had dealings with the trainers along the way as well, with Linny as I was in my puppy raising journey, and they're just so supportive and so knowledgeable and experienced as well. So if anyone does want to consider puppy raising, if you haven't already, you do have that fantastic support from the training team there. And then lastly, we have a question, which I think is a good one to go off on, is what do you think Jessie's quirkiest trait is?
Oh, gosh.
Does she do anything really funny?
Oh, God, help me out here, guys.
I think she brings toys over to us.
Oh, the toys, yeah. She's great with her toys. Whenever she's so good with, you know, when new people come to the house, you know, she's so calm, and she's not one of those dogs that bounces all over the place. She's really good. But what she will do is that she will pick up a toy and she will approach the person. If she likes them, she'll approach them and then she'll drop the toy at their feet and look at them, you know. But if she's not too sure, she won't do that. So I think that's a really quirky trait that I always know that, oh yeah, okay, she liked this person. So like my dad, for example, my goodness me, it's really funny because, you know, she you can see that she's like, oh, I have to be good, I have to be reserved, but part of it is going like, oh, I want to see him.
So I'm sure he has plenty of toys at his feet.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much, Melanie. That's all of the questions that we have. And I think before we finish up with you, Tracy Pratt, one of our Guide Dogs team members, wants to say a few words.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say thanks so much, Mel, for sharing your very personal story with us. It's always lovely to hear from people that use services from Guide Dogs. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing that. And Melanie and I, just for everyone else, we go back a very long time. We actually were friends before Mel came as a client to Guide Dogs. So we've worked together going back to 1989 where we first met. Seems like such a lifetime ago, where we both worked as vet nurses at the Lost Dogs Home. So Mel and I have been friends and work colleagues there for just over 26 years. So our friendship now extends something ridiculous like over 3 decades. And I know you're all thinking we look too young to be that old. But certainly Mel and I have always had a love for dogs in particular. We've also very much alike, as we both love to keep busy, we like to be fit, we both love to travel. And what I've loved seeing recently with Mel being partnered now with Desi is that they've actually gone on their first interstate trip together. I think it was last year, was it, Mel?
Yeah.
So they went to Queensland together. Desi got on a plane and was just amazing. And they travelled together and had such a great time. So for me, it's such a privilege to be a part of Mel's journey and to see that. One of my highlights being at Guide Dogs was being a part of graduation last year when I got to see Mel and Des graduate together. It was a real honour and such a privilege for me to see Melanie flourish, having this dog, knowing how much dogs have played a big part of her life, and knowing that she was always such a fiercely independent person, sometimes to the point where you know, just too much. She would say to me when I'd say, you know, over the years, why don't you get a guide dog? You should look at a guide dog. And this is before I even worked at Guide Dogs. And I remember Mel saying to me one day, being the independent person that she was, that I'd rather just use my cane because I don't want anyone to see me as someone with sight loss, and I can always pack up my cane and put it in my handbag. You can't do that with a guide dog. But I'm so glad she made the decision to get a guide dog, because as much as she was independent all the time anyway, the dog has just given her something different. I think what people don't understand, if they haven't had a dog before, is the companionship and the loyalty and the trust that you build with the dog is so great, and so much, in the sense, outweighs a cane. So I just wanted to thank you, Mel, and I'm so proud that you're a part of the Guide Dogs family. And I just would like to also say too that I always joke with Mel that, yeah, Guide Dogs does do a perfect match with clients and their dogs. And they really hit the nail on the head when they chose Desi for Mel, because Desi is a little bit cheeky. She is very independent, just like Melanie, and they are both tall. You can't see the full size of Desi now, but they are both very tall, slender, and beautiful and gorgeous and very fast-paced. It's the perfect match. So thanks again, Mel, and thank you so much for speaking today, but more personally for me, for being such an amazing friend over 3 decades. Love you.
You do.
Back to you, Alex.
Thanks so much, Tracy and Mel. What
You're
a
muted
special
now,
bond
by
that
the
you
way.
both share. Absolutely incredible to hear both of your stories.